They just have colds. Stop being so dramatic. My mother-in-law, Diana, scoffed, applying another layer of lipstick while checking her reflection in my hallway mirror. Behind her, my sister-in-law, Madison, was bouncing excitedly, clutching VIP passes to meet some reality TV star I'd never heard of. I stood my ground, arms crossed. The twins have 102-degree fevers. They need constant monitoring and their next dose of medicine in 2 hours. I can't leave the hospital any sooner. One of my patients is in critical condition. My name is Olivia, and at 34, I'm a pediatric surgeon who usually has everything under control. But today, with my 5-year-old twins sick and my husband James away at a medical conference, I was forced to rely on my in-laws for help. A decision I would soon regret. Oh please, Madison rolled her eyes, adjusting her designer outfit. They're sleeping anyway. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Skylar James is only doing one meet and greet in the city. The twins' coughing echoed from their bedroom, followed by weak calls for water. I moved to check on them, but Diana blocked my path. We've got this, she insisted, waving me away. You're being overprotective. Kids get sick all the time. When Madison was little, I let her play in the rain with pneumonia, and she turned out fine. I stared at her, horrified. That's not something to brag about. Look, I've written down their medication schedule, emergency contacts, and… Yes. Diana interrupted, snatching the paper from my hand and tossing it on the counter without even glancing at it. We know how to take care of children. Now go save lives or whatever it is you do. I hesitated at the door, every maternal and medical instinct screaming at me not to leave. But with an emergency surgery scheduled and no other options for childcare, I had to trust they'd at least follow basic instructions. Promise me you'll stay with them, I pressed, looking both women in the eye. They really are sick. We promise, Madison chirped, already taking selfies with her VIP pass. Now go, you're going to be late. 4 hours later, in the middle of post-op notes, my phone lit up with a call from Mrs. Chen, my elderly neighbor. My heart stopped when I saw her name. Olivia. Her usually gentle voice was sharp with concern. I've been hearing your twins crying for the past hour. I knocked, but no one's answering. Aren't Diana and Madison supposed to be watching them? I gripped my desk, knuckles turning white. You mean they're not there? No, dear, but I keep hearing coughing and crying. The poor things sound miserable. I was already grabbing my keys, emergency surgery forgotten. Mrs. Chen, I'm 40 minutes away. Can you use the spare key I gave you? Please check on them. I'm calling 911 right now. Of course I'm going in now. Oh, her gasp made my blood run cold. Those irresponsible, Olivia. They're burning up. And there's vomit on the beds. Hold on. I'm calling an ambulance. I was running to my car, phone pressed to my ear as I dialed James. The sound of my twins crying in the background of Mrs. Chen's call would haunt me forever. Then my phone buzzed with an Instagram notification. My hands shook as I saw Madison's latest post, a beaming selfie with some reality star, timestamped just 15 minutes ago. The caption read, "Dreams do come true. Best day ever with my amazing mom. Hashtag VIP status, hashtag Skylar Jings, hashtag worth it. Worth it." They'd abandoned my desperately ill children for a photo opportunity, and they were bragging about it being worth it. I switched to my messages, firing off a text to both of them. Emergency room. Now, and you better pray my children are okay. Madison responded instantly. OMG, don't be so dramatic. We were only gone for like 2 hours. They were sleeping when we left. I couldn't even process her casualness about leaving 5-year-olds alone, let alone sick ones. Diana chimed in. This is exactly why we didn't tell you our plans. You overreact to everything. They're fine. But they weren't fine. By the time I reached the emergency room, both twins had fevers of 104.5. Severe dehydration, no medication for hours. The doctors were already starting IV fluids when I arrived, Mrs. Chen still by their side because she refused to leave them alone again. Mommy, Sophie whimpered when she saw me, her usually rosy face pale and tear-stained. Next to her, Sam was half asleep, his breathing raspy. I'm here, babies, I choked out, gathering them both carefully in my arms. Mommy's here now. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. As I held my children, Watching nurses hook up medications and fluids, my phone kept buzzing with messages from Diana and Madison. Excuses, accusations, guilt trips. I silenced them all. They had no idea what was coming. While my twins fought fevers that could have caused seizures or worse, I was already planning exactly how to ensure my in-laws would face consequences for their actions. The hospital's security cameras showing exactly when they arrived. The time-stamped social media posts proving where they'd been instead. Mrs. Chen's call to emergency services. The doctor's reports detailing the dangerous condition my children were found in. Diana and Madison thought they could explain this away, like they had with so many other irresponsible decisions. But they were about to learn that a mother's patience has limits, and they had just found mine. Diana and Madison burst into the pediatric ward like they owned it, still dressed in their meet and greet outfits, reeking of expensive perfume. "Where are our babies?" Diana demanded, trying to push past me to the twins' room. I blocked her path, my voice cold and steady. "Your babies? You mean the ones you abandoned with dangerous fevers to meet a D-list celebrity?" Madison stepped forward, phone in hand. "Look, we got you his autograph. We were trying to do something nice. And they're fine, aren't they?" "Fine." I pulled up the medical chart on my tablet. Temperature, 104.5. Severe dehydration, respiratory distress. They could have had seizures. Does that sound fine to you? "Oh, stop being so dramatic." Diana waved dismissively. When Madison was young, you were a neglectful mother. And now you've proven you're just as neglectful as a grandmother. Their jaws dropped at my bluntness. Behind me, I heard James arriving. He caught the first flight back when I called him. "Mom? Madison? What were you thinking?" His voice was heavy with disappointment as he took in the scene. "You left my children alone while they were sick." "They weren't alone," Madison protested. "They had each other." The absurdity of her statement hung in the air. James looked at his sister like he was seeing her for the first time. "They're 5 years old, Madison. 5, and seriously ill." "Well, maybe if your wife wasn't so controlling about babysitters, we would have had other options." Diana snapped. "You mean the qualified babysitters I offered to arrange?" I countered. "The ones you insisted you didn't need because, and I quote, 'we're family, we know best.'" James put his arm around me, his body tense with anger. "You need to leave. Now, both of you." "But we brought presents." Madison held up a shopping bag. "Signed merchandise. The twins will love it." "Get out." James's voice was quiet but firm. "The hospital has security footage of when you left and when the ambulance arrived. The doctors have documented everything." And Mrs. Chen filed a police report. Diana's face went pale. "A police report? For what?" "Child endangerment," I said calmly. "Abandonment of minors. The detective wants to speak with you both." "You called the police on family?" Madison shrieked, drawing looks from the hospital staff. "How could you?" "The same way you could abandon sick children for a celebrity photo op," I replied, easily. Diana grabbed her daughter's arm, finally sensing the gravity of the situation. "We're leaving, but this isn't over. You can't prove anything." I held up my phone, showing Madison's Instagram post. "Really? Because your daughter already documented everything. Timestamped photos of where you were. Captions about how it was worth it." The detective found it very interesting. They fled the ward, Diana practically dragging Madison, who was already crying about how we were ruining her social media career. James turned to me, his face etched with guilt. "I'm so sorry. I should have known they couldn't be trusted." "We both should have known," I admitted. "But now we do. And they're about to learn that actions have consequences." The consequences came swiftly. The detective's interview was damning. Diana and Madison's social media posts provided a clear timeline of their negligence. The hospital documentation showed just how serious the twins' condition had become. But what really sealed their fate was their own attitude. Instead of apologizing, they doubled down. Madison kept posting about being unfairly attacked by jealous haters. Diana called every family member, spinning tales about how I was destroying the family over just a little outing. They didn't expect Mrs. Chen to have recorded her calls for help, or for the hospital to have security footage of them sneaking out hours earlier than they claimed, or for their social media bragging to be used against them in official reports. James stood by me through all of it, His faith in his mother and sister finally shattered when they showed up at our house unannounced, demanding we drop the charges. He was the one who called the police to have them removed. "You're choosing her over your own mother?" Diana had screamed as officers escorted her off our property. "No," James replied calmly. "I'm choosing my children's safety over your entitlement." The twins recovered slowly, still asking why Grandma and Aunt Madison left them alone. We tried to explain in terms they could understand, but how do you tell 5-year-olds that their grandmother and aunt cared more about meeting a celebrity than their well-being? The family was in upheaval. Some relatives sided with Diana and Madison, claiming we were overreacting. Others, who had witnessed their entitled behavior for years, stood with us. But we didn't care about sides anymore. This wasn't about family drama. It was about protecting our children from people who had proven they couldn't be trusted with their safety. As I tucked the twins into bed a week later, their fevers finally gone, Sophie asked a question that broke my heart. "Mommy, did we do something bad? Is that why they left us?" I gathered her close, Sam snuggling in on my other side. "No, sweethearts, you did nothing wrong. Sometimes grown-ups make very bad choices, and then they have to face consequences for those choices." "Like timeout?" Sam asked sleepily. "Something like that." I smiled, kissing their foreheads. "But I promise you, Mommy and Daddy will never let anyone hurt you like that again." And we meant it. Diana and Madison were about to learn that their perfect day meeting a reality star had cost them something far more precious, and this time, there would be no coming back from it. The court date arrived on a crisp autumn morning. I sat beside James in the courtroom, watching Diana and Madison enter with their lawyer. They traded their usual flashy outfits for conservative suits, trying to project an image of responsibility that their actions had long since shattered. Madison couldn't resist checking her phone one last time before the judge entered. Her social media campaigns to paint herself as the victim had backfired spectacularly. Every post about being persecuted was met with screenshots of her bragging about abandoning sick children for a celebrity meetup. "All rise," the bailiff called. The proceedings were surprisingly quick. The evidence was overwhelming. Hospital records, security footage, social media posts, Mrs. Chen's recordings, and their own damning text messages. Their lawyer tried to paint it as a simple misunderstanding. "Your Honor, my clients merely went out for a brief period, believing the children were sleeping safely." "A brief period," the judge interrupted, reviewing the timeline. "Security cameras show they left at 1:15 p.m. The ambulance wasn't called until 5:45 p.m. That's nearly 5 hours they left critically ill kindergartners alone." Diana stood up, unable to contain herself. "We checked on them through the nanny cam." "The nanny cam that shows you watching them cry through your phones and doing nothing?" The prosecutor asked. "The one that recorded you saying, and I quote, 'They're fine. We can't miss this opportunity over a little fever.'" I felt James tense beside me. He hadn't known about that part. The judge had heard enough. In my 30 years on the bench, I've seen many cases of negligence, but few show such willful disregard for children's safety. The sentence came down hard. Diana and Madison both received probation, mandatory parenting classes, and community service. But more importantly, a restraining order barred them from unsupervised contact with the twins. "But they're my grandchildren," Diana wailed. "You can't keep them from me." "Your Honor," Madison jumped in, "my social media career will be ruined. I have sponsorships." The judge's gaze was steel. "Perhaps you should have considered that before prioritizing a photo opportunity over children's lives." Outside the courthouse, they tried one last time to approach us. "You've destroyed this family," Diana accused, tears running down her expertly made-up face. "Are you happy now?" "No, Mom," James replied quietly. "You destroyed it yourself. Every time you put your wants above my children's needs. Every time you dismissed our concerns. Every time you proved we couldn't trust you." "We can change," Madison pleaded. "Just drop the restraining order. My followers keep unfollowing me because of this." I looked at her, really looked at her. "That's exactly why this was necessary. You're still more worried about your social media than what you did to Sam and Sophie." "They're just kids," she protested. "They won't even remember this." "But we will," James said firmly. "Every fever, every time they're sick, we'll remember who abandoned them when they needed help most." "Goodbye, Mom." "Madison." He took my hand and we walked away, leaving them calling after us. Their voices faded as we drove home to our children, who were being watched by a qualified nanny we'd finally hired. The twins were better now, back to their energetic selves. They still asked about Grandma and Aunt Madison sometimes, but less often as weeks passed. We'd found a child therapist to help them process the abandonment, turning it into a lesson about trust and safety rather than letting it become a trauma. 6 months later, I was organizing the twins' art supplies when I found Sophie's family drawing from school. Diana and Madison weren't in it. When I asked her about it, she shrugged. "They're not our family anymore, Mommy. They made bad choices." Out of the mouths of babes. Diana still tried to make contact occasionally, sending flying monkeys from the family to plead her case. "They've learned their lesson," they'd say. "The restraining order is too harsh." But we stood firm. This wasn't about punishment anymore. It was about protecting our children from people who had proven they couldn't be trusted with their safety. James's cousin Amy, who had sided with us from the start, told us that Diana and Madison had created a new narrative. They were the victims of an overprotective mother who turned their son/brother against them. They never acknowledged their actions, never truly apologized, never showed real remorse. "You know what that means," James said when he heard this. "We made the right decision." A year after the incident, we moved to a new house in a different neighborhood. The twins started kindergarten, made new friends, and thrived in an environment free from toxic family dynamics. Diana and Madison's probation would eventually end. The restraining order would need to be renewed. But some things were permanent, like our understanding that sometimes the hardest choices are the most necessary ones. The twins' 6th birthday party was filled with laughter, friends, and family who had proven they deserved to be in their lives. No drama, no guilt trips, no Instagram posts, just genuine love and celebration. As I watched Sophie and Sam blow out their candles, surrounded by people who truly cared about their well-being, I knew we'd given them something more valuable than a so-called perfect family. We'd given them safety, security, and the knowledge that their parents would always protect them, no matter what. Sometimes the best family isn't the one you're born into or marry into. It's the one you choose to build, one boundary at a time.